15 years ago, I was a lot sweeter. I wouldn't say nicer, but I hadn't lived in New York City for 12 years, and I certainly had not learned how to swear like a fucking sailor. I had fallen into advocacy, and by fallen I mean dragged by some very intelligent women who were around me at the time. And one of them came to me one day and said, "We have to do something." And I did what I have found to be pretty synonymous with both fun and great success, and I said, "I'm in." So President Bush W. was 3 years into his first term of presidency, and the FDA was considering Plan B for over-the-counter status. And the FDA put together a panel of over 20 physicians and scientists, and they universally said, well, if you're going to have Plan B, it's safe, and in order to be effective, it has to be over-the-counter. Duh, right? So the FDA, which, if you don't know, is an inherently political organization because the head of the FDA is appointed by the executive branch of our government. So the FDA, in all of its wisdom, turned around and said, Plan B can only be accessed by use of a physician prescription. What? That didn't make any sense. The FDA had never gone against a unanimous panel, consensus discussion, etc. And we had to do something. So my colleague and I, we wrote a piece of policy that said the FDA should rescind this nonsensical policy. They should follow their panel, their own panel of scientists and doctors' recommendations. And we gave compelling testimony, and we got interviewed on CNN, and we were able to pass that policy through the American Medical Association a few weeks later at the national meeting. And the next day, the FDA rescinded their policy, and they reversed their decision, and they said that Plan B should be over-the-counter. Well, that was actually just the beginning of a 5-year fight. I mean, my husband has a shirt that has W on it, and it says, "Miss me yet?" But things weren't great then for public health, if anybody remembers. So that was a 5-year fight that luckily we won. But I was hooked. I saw the difference that I could make. And it was better than any drug anyone had ever created. So my name is Hilary Fairbrother, and I am an advocacy addict. I'm a junkie. I'm a total nerd. I know more acronyms than most people have forgotten in their lifetime. And I am totally into this part-time job that I will, well, let's be honest, never get paid for. But I travel and I advocate, and I am passionate about politics and advocacy. And I realize that this makes me different than a lot of physicians. A lot of physicians say, let's leave politics to the politicians. I just want to see my patients. And I empathize with that, but unfortunately, it's just not good enough. If we leave politics to our politicians, I don't think we will like the outcomes that they come up with. A lot of physicians are disgusted with politics this day. I have no idea why. It's a dirty game. There's a lot of nastiness. There's more partisanship in politics than anyone has ever seen. Facts aren't real. There are so many challenges, and yet the type of people who can still make a difference, both for our practice of medicine and for our patients, are sitting in this room, and we call them colleagues everywhere we go. The world is small. If we as physicians do not advocate for medicine and our practice of medicine as we see it, we will not only be silenced, but I don't think that we will like the outcome. I don't think we will like the field of medicine as dictated to us by businessmen and lawyers and everyone else who is obsessed with things that are not patient-centered. Physicians are, simply put, the only primary advocate for patients, period. There is no other industry that protects our patients like we do. Not the hospitals, not the insurance companies, not big pharma, not the device manufacturers. We are, unfortunately, the smallest, the least organized, and the poorest advocacy group. But we are the most important because we advocate for the people who otherwise have no voice. And I'm talking about our patients. So the world is small, and advocacy is important. Okay, Hilary, thanks. You said, you would not go on and on. So just a reminder that you're totally fucking awesome, but you need to do something that matters. And you should do something that matters to you. So find your advocacy. It doesn't have to be something huge. It can actually be something quite small. You see a playground in the neighborhood adjacent to yours, and that playground is not something that any child would want to play in. So go on Facebook, raise some money, get 20 people together. You can redo a playground in a weekend. My son is turning 1 in a few weeks, and I have to throw him a birthday party, I've been told, or I'm a bad mom. So I have no interest in getting all of the things that everyone thinks a 1-year-old should have and getting all of those presents. And B, I don't want to write the thank you notes that I have to write after I get the things that everyone thinks a 1-year-old should have. And one of my friends said, well, why don't you just ask people to bring food rather than presents? Because people want to bring something. I don't know why. A first-year-old birthday party is obviously for the parents, not for the kid. But people want to bring something. And so now my challenge to my friends and my family is that I want to collect more food than I can fit in my car in a single trip to the Houston Food Bank. Advocacy comes in small packages. There are more women running for office in this country than ever before, but many of them are running for city council, they are running for the school board, they are running for, how many of you actually know your state district number, no less representative? Yeah, I mean, really, they are the nameless people that make the policies in your state, which is crazy that we give them so much power, and yet none of us know who they are. There are more women running, and they need your help. Add them to your raft of bitches, all right? These women need to be amplified. They need their voice to be out there, because you know what we are told about female candidates? We are told they suck. We are told that they are heartless, or that they are bitches, or that they are mean, or that they are not warm, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we know that that's not true. So find your female candidates out there. Look at their website. If you like their policies, maybe give them a little money, or meet with them and see if you can give them a little bit of your time. I'd say stuff envelopes, but nobody does that anymore. But give them some of your time. You say, Hilary, I live in a really red state. All right, whatever. I live in Texas. Texas is so red, it's like bleeding red. Anybody who tells you different, sorry, Allison. Anyone who tells you different is lying. On my way to work, I see more "come and take 'em" bumper stickers. I could wallpaper my son's bedroom every day. It is a red state, but I belong to my state medical association, which is quite conservative. And the reason why, look at number 2. I want to provide health care, and I want to provide quality health care to poor people in the state of Texas. That's a pretty progressive top 10. And if you can imagine this is what Texas has as their top 10, I think you can imagine what California, Oregon, or other more progressive states have. Statistically, all of you are much more likely to belong to your specialty society organization, and that's great. It's not that it's not great, but that keeps us divided as physicians. When we only keep ourselves pigeonholed by specialty, we lose our advocacy and our organizational power. So expand yourself. Find some organizations that speak to you. Here's a bunch of them. They stand for all different types of things. Find the ones that you identify with, pay your membership dues, and if you don't want to go to DC with me, help these organizations send people to DC on your behalf to advocate for physicians and your patients. I used to be a lot cooler before I got married and had a baby, and I used to go all over the world for the International Medical Corps, so quick plug for an amazing organization led by doctors and nurses from Canada and the US. Also, Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF, is another amazing organization to work for. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about global advocacy. It's an extraordinary thing to go and deliver care where people have such extravagant need. So if that's what you do, then power to you and do it and be proud. I would just remind you, a lot of suffering in our own country, and to remember to give back here as well as giving back across the world. So finally, this is my contact information, and I want to close with just by saying, be an activist. Be an advocate. Don't leave politics to the politicians. And there is something in it for you. Activists are actually statistically much likelier to be happier. They are much likelier to have a sense of community. And I don't know if they actually live longer, but I'm going to say that they do because it sounds great. But activists are much less likely to burn out. So activate yourself, find something that you believe in, and go make a difference. Thank you.